also raises another important distinction that we'll focus on this semester and is easy to get mixed up. So I want you to, if you're ever unclear, I want you to ask me about it. And that's the distinction between positive versus normative analyses. Positive versus normative. Positive analyses is the study of the way things are, while normative analyses is the study of the way things should be. Okay, positive analysis is the study of the way things are, while normative analysis is the study of the way things should be. Let me give you a great example, which is eBay auctions. Okay? Auctions are a terrific example. They're like the textbook example of a competitive market. You can see it in your head. Demand comes from a bunch of people going on and bidding. People who want it more bid more. So you actually get a demand curve. The higher the price, the fewer people you're getting to bid. Supply is how many units of it are for sale on eBay. You bid until those two meet, and then you have a market equilibrium at that bidded price. Okay? Now, one example of an eBay auction that got a lot of attention a number of years ago, early in the days of eBay, was someone offered their kidney for auction. They said, look, I got 2 kidneys. You only need 1 to live. There are people out there who need a kidney. I'm putting my kidney on eBay for auction. And what happened, bidding went nuts. It started at $25,000. It climbed to $5 million before the auction was shut down and eBay decided they wouldn't allow you to sell your body on eBay, bodily parts on eBay. Okay? So this raises 2 questions. The first is the positive question. Why did the price go so high? So what's the answer to that? What's the answer to the positive question?
Somebody wanted your kidney.
Okay, good answer, but let's raise hands and give answers. That's part of it. Yeah. Low supply, high demand. Demand is incredibly high because I die without it. Supply is low because not a lot of us are willing to sell their kidneys on eBay. Okay? So low supply, high demand led to a high price. Adam Smith at work. That's the positive analysis. Okay? But this raises but then there's the normative question, which is, should you be allowed to sell your kidneys on eBay? That's the normative question. The positive question is, what happens if you do? The normative question is, should you? Now, the standard economics answer, to start, would be, of course you should. We're in a world where thousands of people die every year because there's a waiting list for a kidney transplant. Okay? And these are people who would happily pay a lot of money to stay alive, I presume. Okay? Meanwhile, there's hundreds of millions of people walking around with 2 kidneys who only need 1. And many of these people are poor, and lives could be changed by being paid $1 million for their kidney, and might be happy to take the risk that that 1 kidney will be fine, as it is for most everyone for most of their life, in return for having the life-changing payment from a stranger. So economists would say, look, here's a transaction that makes both parties better off. The person who gets the kidney gets to stay alive, and they are willing to pay a huge amount for that. The person who sells the kidney, in most probability, is fine, because almost all of us can make it through life fine with 1 kidney, and can get a life-changing amount of money that could allow them to pursue their dreams in various ways. Okay? So that's the standard argument, would be, yeah, you should be able to sell your kidneys on eBay. Okay? So the question is, why not? Why would we want to stop this transaction? What are the counter-arguments to that? Let's raise their hand. Yeah.
Potentially, I think maybe the issue is, because it was eBay, there's, no way to regulate it, or, you don't, necessarily know, people could be, selling fake kidneys, per se.
Right. So the first type of problem comes out of the category we call market failures. Market failures are reasons why the market doesn't work in the wonderful way economists like to think it should. So, for example, this answer puts up, there could be the problem of fraud. Okay? People might not be able to tell if they're getting a legit kidney or not. Okay? There could be the example of imperfect information. Do you know what the odds are that you can spend the rest of your life with only 1 kidney? I don't either. Okay? We ought to know that. before we start selling our kidneys. Okay? There could be imperfect information. Okay? These are the kinds of, this is one type of problem, which is the market may fail. Okay? Yeah?
Like the current system also helps people who are poor and have failed kidney, and which are people who would be completely screwed otherwise in
Right.
the proposed system.
A second problem is what we call equity or fairness. Equity or fairness, which is we would end up with a world where only rich people would get kidneys. Okay? Currently, there's a bunch of voluntary donors and people who are in accidents who have kidneys left over. Okay? And those go to people on the basis of where they are on a waiting list. It's actually a prioritized waiting list. It's kind of a cool, one of my colleagues, Nikhil Agarwal, if you think about, I'll talk a lot this semester about the imperialistic view of economics, all the cool things we can study. So he actually uses economic models to study the optimal way to allocate organs to individuals. Right now, it's just done based on a waiting list. But it may be that someone further down the waiting list needs it more than someone higher up the waiting list because they're more critical or whatever. So there's various optimal ways to allocate. But certainly, the optimal way to allocate wouldn't be the rich guy gets it first. That would be unlikely to be what society would necessarily want. So there's an equity concern with that. What else? What other sorts? Yeah.
Or like, since you know you can make money off of selling kidneys and you take advantage of people, and it's very bad with black market for kidneys.
Right. So there's sort of a third, it's related to fraud, but there's sort of a third class of failures that gets into the question about behavioral economics that was raised earlier, which we could just call behavioral failure, just call it behavioral economics for want of a better term, which is essentially people don't always make decisions in the perfectly rational, logical way we will model them as doing so this semester. People make mistakes. That's a word we hate using in economics. We hate saying mistakes. Ooh, boo, mistakes. Nobody makes mistakes. We're all perfect little economic beings. But we know that's not true. Increasingly, over the past several decades, economists have started incorporating insights from psychology into our models. To not just say people make mistakes, that's a little lackadaisical, but to rigorously model the nature of those mistakes and understand how mistakes can actually happen due to various cognitive biases and other things. In this world, you can imagine people could make mistakes. They could not really sit down and quite understand what they're doing, and they could end up selling their kidney when it's really not in their own long-term interest. Yeah?
Example would be like if there's like a family that's like in extreme poverty, like even though they only have one kidney, they might sell the other one just to get more money for the family per se.
Well, I mean, in some sense, that would be, once again, if we took this factor out, if the market worked well, there's no behavioral effects,